chilling, ghostly encounter, the whisper of death. In the heart of a dense forest, there stood an old mansion, abandoned for decades. The locals whispered tales of eerie sounds and ghostly apparitions that haunted the place. One stormy night, a group of friends decided to explore the mansion, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. It all started as a dare. Sarah, the bravest of the group, challenged her friends to spend a night in the mansion. They laughed it off at first, but curiosity got the better of them. Armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure, they set off into the night. As they approached the mansion, the wind howled through the trees, and the moon cast an eerie glow on the dilapidated structure. The front door creaked open, as if inviting them in. With a mix of excitement and fear, they stepped inside. The air inside was cold and musty. Dust covered every surface, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling. As they explored the rooms, they heard faint whispers, almost like a distant conversation. They brushed it off as the wind, but deep down, they knew something was wrong. In the living room, they found an old portrait of a woman. Her eyes seemed to follow them as they moved around the room. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she stared at the painting. It was as if the woman was trying to tell her something. Curiosity led them to the basement. The stairs creaked under their weight, and the air grew colder with each step. At the bottom, they found an old chest. Inside, they discovered a diary, its pages filled with the ramblings of a madman. The diary belonged to the mansion's previous owner, a man named Edward. He wrote about his experiments with the supernatural and his obsession with contacting the dead. The last entry spoke of a ritual that went horribly wrong, unleashing a malevolent spirit. As they read the diary, they heard footsteps behind them. They turned to see a shadowy figure standing at the top of the stairs. It vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving them in a state of panic. They decided to leave the mansion, but the front door was now locked. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped. The whispers grew louder, and the temperature dropped even further. They huddled together, trying to come up with a plan. Desperate for answers, they decided to hold a seance. They gathered around a table, lit candles, and called out to the spirits. The room grew darker, and the candles flickered. Suddenly, the table shook, and a voice whispered, "Leave this place." The voice belonged to the woman in the portrait. She warned them of the spirit that haunted the mansion, a vengeful entity known as the Whisper of Death. She urged them to find a way out before it was too late. Determined to escape, they searched the mansion for any clues. They found a hidden passage behind a bookshelf that led to a secret room. Inside, they discovered a collection of old books and artifacts related to the occult. Among the artifacts, they found instructions for a banishing ritual. They gathered the necessary items and prepared to perform the ritual. The air grew heavy with anticipation as they began the incantation. As they chanted, the Whisper of Death appeared before them. It was a dark, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. It moved towards them, its presence suffocating. They continued the ritual, their voices trembling with fear. The spirit fought back, causing objects to fly across the room. The friends held their ground, determined to banish the entity. With one final chant, the spirit let out a deafening scream and vanished into thin air. The mansion fell silent, and the temperature returned to normal. They had succeeded in banishing the whisper of death, but the experience left them shaken. They made their way out of the mansion, vowing never to return. As they walked back to their homes, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The events of the night replayed in their minds, and they wondered if they had truly escaped the spirit's grasp. In the days that followed, strange occurrences plagued their lives. They heard whispers in the night, saw shadowy figures in the corners of their eyes, and felt an unshakable sense of dread. It was as if the spirit had followed them home. Determined to find a solution, Sarah delved into research about the whisper of death. She discovered that the spirit was bound to the mansion and could only be truly banished by destroying the source of its power. With no other option, they decided to return to the mansion. Armed with new knowledge and a renewed sense of determination, they set off once again into the night. Back in the mansion, they searched for the source of the spirit's power. They found an old amulet hidden in the secret room. It pulsed with a dark energy, and they knew it had to be destroyed. They gathered around the amulet and prepared to destroy it. As they did, the whisper of death appeared once more powerful than before. It attacked them with a fury, determined to protect its source of power. In a desperate move, Sarah grabbed the amulet and smashed it against the ground. The spirit let out a blood-curdling scream and vanished in a burst of light. The mansion shook, and the walls began to crumble. They ran out of the mansion as it collapsed behind them. The spirit was gone, and the mansion was reduced to rubble. They had finally put an end to the whisper of death. In the weeks that followed, their lives returned to normal. The whispers stopped, and the shadowy figures disappeared. They could finally sleep peacefully, knowing the spirit was gone for good. They often reflected on their experience, grateful for their friendship and the strength they found in each other. The mansion was gone, but the memories of that night would stay with them forever. With the spirit banished, they felt a sense of closure. They moved on with their lives, but the bond they formed during that night remained strong. They knew they could face anything together. The story of the whisper of death became a local legend. People spoke of the brave group of friends who banished the spirit and destroyed the haunted mansion. It was a tale that would be passed down for generations. Despite the peace, they couldn't shake the feeling that the spirit's power might still linger. They warned others to stay away from the ruins of the mansion, just in case. As they looked to the future, they knew they would always be connected by the events of that night. They had faced their fears and emerged stronger, ready to take on whatever challenges life threw at them. Years later, they reunited to reminisce about their adventure. They laughed and shared stories, grateful for the bond they had formed. The mansion was gone, but the memories remained. Their story inspired others to face their fears and stand up to the unknown. The legend of the whisper of death became a symbol of courage and friendship. Despite their victory, some mysteries remained unsolved. They wondered about the origins of the spirit and the true nature of the mansion's dark history. Sarah continued her research, determined to uncover the truth. She delved into old records and spoke to historians, piecing together the puzzle of the mansion's past. She discovered that the mansion was built on ancient burial grounds, and the spirit was the vengeful soul of a wronged individual. The amulet had been a powerful artifact that bound the spirit to the mansion. With this new knowledge, they felt a sense of closure. They had not only banished the spirit, but also uncovered the truth behind its existence. It was a bittersweet victory. They decided to create a memorial at the site of the mansion to honor the spirit and those who had suffered. It was a way to bring peace to the restless soul and to remember their own journey. The memorial brought a sense of healing to the community. People visited the site to pay their respects and to find solace in the story of the Whisper of Death. With the past behind them, they looked forward to new adventures. They knew that life would always have its challenges, but they were ready to face them together. Years passed, and the friends went their separate ways. However, strange occurrences began to happen again in the town. People reported seeing shadowy figures and hearing whispers in the night. It seemed that a new threat had emerged. The friends reunited once more to investigate the new occurrences. They were older and wiser, but the bond they shared was as strong as ever. They knew they had to face this new threat together. They began their investigation by visiting the old site of the mansion. The memorial they had built was still there, but the area felt different. There was a sense of unease that hadn't been there before. While searching the area, they found a strange symbol carved into a tree. It was a symbol they had seen before in the old books they had found in the mansion. It was a sign that the new threat was connected to the Whisper of Death. They delved into their research once more, looking for any clues about the new threat. They discovered that the symbol was used in ancient rituals to summon spirits. It seemed that someone had been trying to summon the Whisper of Death again. Their investigation led them to a local historian who had been obsessed with the legend of the Whisper of Death. He had been conducting rituals in an attempt to bring the spirit back, believing it would give him power. They confronted the historian, who admitted to his actions. He believed that the spirit could be controlled and used for his own gain. The friends knew they had to stop him before he succeeded in summoning the spirit. They decided to perform a counter-ritual to banish the spirit once and for all. They gathered the necessary items and prepared for the ritual. The air grew heavy with anticipation as they began the incantation. As they chanted, the spirit appeared once more powerful than ever. It attacked them with a fury, determined to protect its summoner. The friends held their ground, their voices trembling with fear. With one final chant, the spirit let out a deafening scream and vanished into thin air. The historian was left powerless, and the friends knew they had succeeded in banishing the spirit for good. The town returned to normal, and the strange occurrences stopped. The friends had faced their fears once more and emerged victorious. They knew that they could face anything together, and their bond was stronger than ever.